When editing a picture in Photoshop, the first thing is to open up the document. So I'm just going to open up this picture that I took of my couch, and we're going to use this as an example for this video. First thing I want to remind you all of is how to use the selection tools. These tools are going to make it so you can change things about the artwork. So let's just remember how to use the polygon lasso tool. That lets you, when you select it, it's over in the tool bar. When you use this tool, you can select parts of the picture. And now if I make another layer, I can fill this picture in. Let's just choose a color. Well, actually, that's responding to the photograph quality behind it. I'm going to hit Command Z to undo that. Now I'm just going to go to Edit, Fill, Foreground Color, and then hit OK. So now we see that the thing that I selected is filled in. I can turn that on and off. There are other ways to select things than just using the polygon tool, which lets you trace. Let's say I want to make a big selection, like I want to select this entire couch. I can try using the object selection tool by just dragging over the whole couch, and let's see how it works. That actually did a pretty good job. The object selection tool, it tries to figure out what it thinks you want to select based on the lights and the darks, and it did a pretty good job, and I think that's because this blue is so much darker than the white. What it didn't do a great job of was including this part of the couch, but that's not a problem. We can just use the polygon lasso tool to add to that selection, and you can add to a selection by holding down Shift. And now I can trace this part of the couch to get it in. And that's a pretty convenient thing. Tracing this whole couch might have been a chore, but just doing some of it's not such a big deal. Now I also see that if you can notice this is not actually part of the couch. This is a shadow, and it didn't include that this part, and that's because it's measuring the lights and the darks. This is much bigger contrast between the wood and the shadow than the shadow and the couch. So to fix this, I can hit Shift, and do you see how there's a plus by the polygon lasso? So I can hold down Shift, and then now I've included that part. And now if I want to exclude this part, the shadow from the couch, I can hold down Option on a Mac or Alt on a PC, and it's basically the same thing as Shift, except it's going to take away. Once you make the first click, you don't need to continue holding the modifier button down. You can let go. And now we've done a pretty good selection here. I can also clean this up. This isn't part of the couch. That's just a power serger. And I can clean this up. And now we have used the selection tools. Another really convenient way to make selections, and the reason selections are so important is because when you have a selection, whatever is inside the selection is what is going to be edited on a specific layer. So what I can do, another way to keep selections without having to continuously trace things, is if I make a new layer, I'm going to turn this off so we just have the marching ants and the background. Now I'm going to hit the letter G. That gets us our paint bucket. If you're using this for the first time in a while, it might show up as the gradient tool, but we want the paint bucket. And I'm just going to fill that in. Now I can turn my original picture back on, and I can turn this off. The benefit of doing that is now another way that you can make a selection is if you have this thumbnail right here, you can either hold down Command on a Mac or Control on a PC, and if you hold down that modifier while you click the thumbnail here, it will select everything that is on that layer. So this painting of the couch is on that layer, so it got selected. So that's another really convenient way to make selections. Just to continue, and I'm going to hit Command or Control D to deselect. Other quick selection tools are, you can use the actual quick selection tool. That will work very similarly um, to the object selection tool. It's going based on lights and darks. So there's high contrast over here, so it's able to pick up the difference between um, the paintings, the couch, and the wall. But here, this picture frame is white, so it didn't actually save it from being part of the selection. So I'm going to hit L to get my lasso tool back, and now I can just correct it by subtracting this from the selection. Well, I guess what I really wanted to do, that was a little too messy. I wasn't careful. So I'm going to hit Command or Control Z. Now I'm just going to be more careful this time. And now I'm really just going to do exactly what I want. And I want this to be not in the selection. Maybe what I need to do is hit plus. Add it to the selection. Oh, okay, maybe let's see this. Sometimes you just have to mess around until you figure out what the problem is. There we go. And now this is not part of the selection. Sometimes it just takes studying the picture so that way you don't do the wrong thing. Okay, so now what we have is just the wall. And I guess I also want to exclude the lampshade from this selection. Okay, so now we have just a selection of the wall, and we've used the quick selection tool to do it. I'm going to hit Command D, and let's see, you can also use the magic wand tool. Which quick selection tool you're going to use will really just depend on what you're doing. The magic wand tool here didn't work nearly as well as the quick selection tool, I think, because it didn't get this area and it included part of the painting. But it really just depends on the picture and what you're trying to do. The object selection tool did a really good job of identifying the couch, but it did a pretty bad job when I tried having it just identify this one pillow, and that's because the colors are so similar. Using the selection tools is going to be your foundation for doing everything else in Photoshop.